Oh, oh, oh. गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुसाक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः अखण्डमण्डलाकारं व्याप्तं येन चराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम् ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये ॐ श्रीकृष्ण परमात्मने नमः अथ श्रीमद्भगवद्गीता अष्टादशोऽध्यायः मोक्षसंन्यासयोगः So I will just read the. Should I read a little more, or I should start from here? Just because we had completed till here, page 476 was over, and 477 we had started page 477. So I will just read a page before 477. 476 I will read. If you want me to read before that, just let me know. Because samsara is due to delusion, born of ignorance, total removal of samsara is possible through jnana alone. When the cause is delusion, everything is possible. All the questions have been answered. Now, at the end, Shankara says that when the cause is delusion, Bhranti, everything is possible. The Atma, even though not a Karta, becomes a Karta. When the body, mind, sense complex is mistaken for the Atma due to ignorance, there is an erroneous notion that Atma is the Karta. It is all possible, just like in a dream or in a magic show. What is not there appears to be there. It seems as though there are many, though there are not many at all. There is only you. It seems as though you are a karta, though you are not doing anything at all. Similarly, here, Atma, without being the karta, appears to be a karta, without being an enjoyer, bhokta, appears to be a bhokta. And in spite of the Atma being non-dual, the duality of seer seen is apparent. Everything is possible. Without creation, there is creation. Without sustenance, there is sustenance. Without dissolution, there is dissolution. There is no samsara in situations where there is no delusion. And again, in situations like deep sleep or samadhi, where there is no continuity of the false I notion in the body mind sense complex, there is no sense of doership or enjoyership. Therefore, this samsara in the form of kartritva and bhoktritva is entirely due to Bhranti Pratyaya delusion alone, and therefore it is not real. Once there is a fundamental mistake and that is taken into account, afterwards everything is logical. Once you look upon the Atma as the body mind sense complex, everything is possible. Then karma becomes important. There is dharma and adharma, punya, papa, karma yoga, antakarana shuddhi, and sannyasa. Everything becomes meaningful. It is this delusion, this mistaken notion of the self as the body, mind, etc., that is responsible for all that is undesirable, what we call samsara. It begins with the mistaken identification of I as the mind. Then there is identification through the subtle body with the whole physical body. Now there is the duality of Jnata, the knower, Jnana, the means of knowledge, Gniya, object of knowledge, and the duality of Jiva, Jagat, and Ishvara. This is samsara. And there is the total resolution of samsara, implying the resolution of the duality of the individual, the world, and God, Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara, in the wake of knowledge. That total resolution is moksha. Thus, it is established that moksha is by knowledge. Giving up all karmas is purely by knowledge. If you take to this Atma, giving up all karmas, sarva dharman parityajya, I will release you from all papa and punya. Who is this I? It is Atma, the innermost self, the self of all, the Paramatma. Recognition of this Atma, the real nature of the Lord, and the individual jiva is the release. I repeat the last line, it is the takeaway line. Recognition of this Atma, the real nature of the Lord and the individual jiva is the release. In this chapter, the entire Gita Shastra is being summed up. And in the previous two verses, it was again briefly summed up. In one verse, Karma Yoga was mentioned, and in the other, Jnana Karma Sannyasa, renunciation of all actions by knowledge, Sarva Dharman Parityajya. So, the Karma Kanda is for the one when, as long as we continue identifying ourselves with this body, mind, sense complex, we have to continue with all the steps which are mentioned. And once we get that recognition about the Mahavakyas and that Sunishchitada, then there is already the freedom. Then even though there is body and mind and everything, but you live as though you are not that BMI and you become Jivan Mukta. I also would like to share a small example of Sri Ramana Maharshi. He was at, there was one journalist who was after him and he used to write very bad about him. So once he sent directly to Sri Ramana the article which he was going to publish in the newspaper. So Sri Bhagavan, he corrected all the spelling mistakes, and he sent the article to the journalist. So the devotee who was close to him, he said, Bhagwan, what did you do? He wrote all rubbish about you, and still you did not say anything. So Bhagwan said, oh, that he wrote to some Ramana, some person called Ramana. So that was the level of their isolation from the physical body, mind, sense. So much freedom that it doesn't touch the inner core. Yeah. Do we need to share and go ahead, or I can continue to read? Yeah. They were all Jivan Muktas.
Can I ask one question now, or shall I ask later?
Yeah, you can, Savita ji. And you can also share your understanding, every one of us, because it is now
I
ending.
just want
Yeah.
to like clarify, just ask like that last, what is the last this argument of this Purvemansas? It wasn't so much clear because he also says the same that Atma, though it is not the doer, but it is like it is its presence is still there. So that part it's a bit confusing because the Shankara also says some sentences like this only. So it wasn't clear, though I read yesterday. But if you can or anyone else can just describe about the argument which these Purvamansas gave.
Yeah, as long as my understanding goes, Purva Mimamsakas, they are continuing to say that the error where Atma is identified as Karta is not the fundamental error. It is okay because they know that Atma is different from the body, mind, intellect, but still the all the our Shastras, they are addressing to the Atma being a Karta. So everything, I mean, it is like you have to go through the steps. There are different evolution that you start with karma kanda, and through that only you can achieve moksha. That's what is their belief. Whether compared to him, Shankara says, okay, the Atma is observed as karta, that is Gauna Pratyaya and Mithya Pratyaya. But it is fundamental error. Atma is never a karta. It is never touched by any of our actions. That is what is Shankara's argument. And once you, and this whole thing that although it is one only, but still due to our perception only, it multiplies and it is like it look as though many.
But
I think
Pakshi also
Brahmaraji
says
or
no.
others can.
Pakshi says that it does not undergo any change. There is no change that is, and uh, but still it does. He says that though no change happens in the Atma level, but it has no, like he also says it has no agency. It has no kartritva part playing for the Atma, but and it does not change. But still we though the example of the king was quite uh, well explained by Shankaraji, but still some confusion is okay. I'll read it again. You carry on. Maybe I'll
No,
ask
no,
in the
the
later.
Brahmaraji or somebody else who can
Yeah, if someone
explain.
can, or
Yeah,
otherwise I'll.
Malti ji, everybody, you can please your understanding, kindly help us to remove the confusion. Dr. Renu is also there, so
I think we can leave it for now and we can continue, and maybe after some time, or maybe tomorrow, I'll read it again, and then maybe some clarity would be there further after further
yeah,
reading.
the confusion only comes because in the examples, Savitaji, what happens that examples are given for the objects, and the kind of here recognition what we are going through is about our own self, which is like looking at your own eyes through your own eyes, which is never possible. Cutting something, cutting the knife by its own, like cutting the knife by its own. The knife can never cut itself, it can cut others. In the same way, we can never, I mean, all the examples there, it becomes little, why it is becoming confusing for us? Because it is our own self, which is not objectifiable. We cannot objectify. I also want to share my understanding. The question I had asked last month when we begin with the chapter 18, that why it is the Tvamasi, why it is that, not this. So yesterday only the revelation comes, like on my understanding, that when I talk about this all, I talk to the names and forms around me, right? I objectify them. But this is the Atma Tattva is beyond objectification. It has no form, it has no name, and that is why it is said as that. So that beautiful answer I got, I think I am correct in my understanding. Maybe we can confirm with the Nanaji. So as long as we continue to objectify ourselves with all the situation, people, it will be the same. So for coming out of this delusion, we have to uh, see where we sit. Is it with our mind or is it with the Jagat? As long as we continue to sit with the Jagat, this whole sansara continues for us, and the cycle of birth, death also continues. But the moment we sit on for the mind and start witnessing the events, it becomes very, very different experience. And I think more and more of meditation, seva, satsang, that will increase that. And it will help us to recognize, and there will be no, I mean, there will be sunishchitata then. It will not come and go. Like right now, we are going through that transition, no? That sometimes we have the doubt or sometimes we have the, but it will stop once we understand where are we sitting. Are we sitting in the world scenario looking at objects, or we are in that? Yeah, this is what is my understanding. Kindly
Yeah, we
share
can
your
continue. Anyone can share, or we can, like, you can continue with the text, I think.
Yeah, Jai Gurudev, I think all the confusion came in with respect to that example of the fact that in Atma's presence everything happens, number one. And also the example of the king, in the presence of the king, the war is waged. And therefore the king is not actually doing anything. This is according to the Purva Pakshi.
Yeah.
But he experiences the result of the thing, of the war. Just like that, the Purva Pakshi says, Atma is a karta. Although he is not doing anything, in his presence everything is happening, he is the one who experiences papa and punya. That is the Pura Pakshi stand. For them, Atma is a karta. And therefore, Karmakanda is there. And therefore, only through Karmakanda, you can attain moksha. For them, moksha is just getting out of this papa punya cycle by doing things which are nitya naimitika karmas. Whereas that is the Gauna Pratyaya. They're holding on to that concept that it is a figurative speech when the king, whatever the Atma does, the distinction between the Atma and the body, that is where in one of the previous paragraphs it is said. So who is this that experiences heaven? Who is the one? Because we know the body is not the one. So once the body, Atma leaves the body at the time of death, so it is the Atma, according to them, that experiences all of this. And that is the figurative speech. Whereas what Shankara says from the beginning is that all of this is from it is mithya pratyaya. Because all of this, the body, mind, sense complex is born of ignorance, which is fundamental. So whatever is superimposed upon the body, mind, sense complex, the Atma is superimposed, the body, mind complex is superimposed on Atma. That is a mithya pratyaya. So in this example of the king and the presence, in his presence that this happens, Shankara says, it is not like the king does not act. Unless the king gives an order for the war to start, it will not start. So if you remember, there are 3 types of action: manasika, vachika, and kayika. So kayika, he may not be there right in the middle of the battle fighting, but he does a manasika karma by deciding to wage the war or go into the battle. And he does a vachika karma by saying, giving command to the commander-in-chief. So there is an action happening. It is not like he is not acting and he's still experiencing the results. So there, Shankara says, it is like a Gauna Pratyaya. Once you realize, when does it become Gauna Pratyaya? Once you realize that Atma is the only truth and all of this, everything else that we see in samsara is nothing but mithya. When this distinction happens, when this discrimination happens, then yes, it is Gauna Pratyaya. That is, although Atma apparently is seeing, it is not seeing. It is as though it is seeing. For Shankara is very clear, there is only one, that is only Atma. So when there is only one, where is there any action? If you imagine the whole thing as just space, nothing else but space. Space is the nearest to what we can understand as limitlessness. Then where is the question of any action happening there? Actions may happen in space, but space itself is actionless. So similarly, that is in Atma's presence, all this is happening. So that is the way, from my understanding, Shankara has explained this Purva Pakshi stand. And he says, if Atma is Akarta, Atma is also Abhokta. So this Papa Punya cycle is only with respect to samsara. Samsara itself is a huge bubble which is only mithya, which is born of ignorance. So only this knowledge that Atma is real, everything else is unreal, will redeem ourselves, will give us that liberation, that moksha.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Brahma. There was this, actually, whenever these Purmemansas, these Pur Pakshi come, they literally entangle yourself in that, their words, no, that the sentences which are written by Swamiji's, they confuse you so much. Yeah. Thank you so much.
But like how Nana mentioned, and also what the China's lovely, he keeps quoting that Subhashitani. There are, I know for us, the intellectual part of us wants to understand every bit, every sentence. We think it's only then we will be able to go forward. But it's okay. There are sometimes there may be the concept is not very clear. As we move forward, like how Bela very nicely said, it clicked to her how that Tattvamasi. So that what is that? I want to quote that Subhashitani.
Acharya?
Yeah. Acharya padamadatte padam shishyasvamedhaya padam sabrahmacharibhyo padam kalakramena hi. So this kalakramena hi. So 1/4 of what we get, understand, is coming from the Acharya, from the teacher himself. 1/4 is from our own understanding. 1/4 of our understanding comes from Sabrahmacharibhyo, all our co-classmates. When they express their doubts or they clarify, we get a little deeper understanding. And 1/4, Kalakramena hi, may remain elusive initially, but Kalakramena, as we move forward, as we continue our journey of this, it'll slowly start getting clearer. So it's okay if you're not able to understand everything. When we move forward, I think it'll happen. Otherwise, sometimes the intellectual part of us does want to understand every little bit, no? Sometimes it's okay to let go a little bit. And if you look at our own life, all of us in the last 2 years, compared to where we were when we started off the Tattva Bodh sessions with Nana first, and then Bhagavad Gita and everything, I can speak from myself. There is so much of deeper understanding now, today, as I speak, compared to what it was then. So there is that internal clarification happening, and I think that with that Shraddha we'll move forward.
We can continue, Pelaji.
Yeah, okay. I was thinking, since we are summing up, no, it is important that everyone shares their understanding. It is very, very beautiful. I mean, as Brahmaraj so beautifully summarized the whole thing, it is so clear. Okay, so I move ahead. Teaching Sampradaya Vidhi. Here at the end of the Shastra is a Sampradaya Vidhi, a rule to be observed by the person who teaches the Shastra and knows the tradition of teaching Sampradaya Vidhi. To whom should that person give this teaching? This is told in the next verse. Idam te na tapaskaya na bhaktaya kadachana na cha shushrusave vacham na cha mam yobhyasuyati. Idam, this teaching which has been taught, te, for you, na vachyam, is not to be taught. atapaskaya, to the one who has no religious discipline. Kadachana, ever, na abhaktaya, not to the one who has no devotion. Na cha ashushrushrave, and not to the one who is not willing to listen. Na cha yaha mam abhyasuyati tasmai, and not to the one who finds fault when there is none with me. Idam te na vachyam atapaskaya kadachana na abhaktaya na cha ashushrushrave न च यः माम् अभ्यसूयति tasmai. This teaching which has been taught to you is never to be taught to the one who has no religious discipline, nor to the one who has no devotion, nor to the one who is not willing to listen, nor to the one who finds fault with me where there is none. I repeat, this teaching which has been taught to you is never to be taught to the one who has no religious discipline, nor to the one who has no devotion, nor to the one who is not willing to listen, nor to the one who finds fault with me where there is none. The alternative meaning, this teaching given to you is never to be taught by you to one who has no religious discipline, nor to one who has no devotion, nor to one who is not willing to listen, nor to one who finds fault with me where there is none. This idam here refers to the Gita Shastra, beginning with, you are grieving for no reason. Ashocyan Anvashochastvam. That is from chapter 2, 11th verse. And ending with, do not grieve. Ma Shuchaha. The entire Gita Shastra that has been taught, we have to add the word Uktam here. Bhagwan says, to you, te, is not to be taught, na vachyam, to certain people. By saying to whom it is not to be taught, he says by implication to whom it is to be given. Shankara adds that it is told, Ukta, for your benefit, Tava Hitaya. We also have to add Tvaya, by you. It is not to be taught, Na Vachyam. Although this is addressed to Arjuna, we can extend it to include all those who know the Shastra. Shankara explains that it is for your benefit, Tava Hitaya, because it destroys samsara. Thus, the Gita is a moksha shastra, unlike the Karma Kanda, which cannot be directly a moksha shastra, though it is connected, because knowledge of Brahman is not taught there as a rule. Even though here and there we can find mantras in it talking about the reality of the Atma and Ishvara, that is not what is directly taught there. What is taught there is the various means and ends, sadhana, sadhya, to fulfill various desires for dharma, artha, and kama. The fourth Purushartha, moksha, is not the value that is kept in view as it is in Vedanta. That is why we separate the Veda into the Karma Kanda and Jnana Kanda. Whereas, if we look at the Bhagavad Gita, as early as the second chapter, Lord Krishna has said that all the Vedas have as their subject matter things that are characterized by the three gunas, Traigunya Vishayaha Vedaha, and urges Arjuna to be free from the three gunas. Nistraigunyo Bhava Arjuna. That is moksha, going away from all the three gunas. If you have moksha as the main goal, your mind is set on one thing. There is vyavasayatmika buddhi, and all other goals subserve that main goal, and your life becomes karma yoga. Therefore, karma yoga is possible only for a person who wants moksha, a mumukshu. If one has not discerned that moksha is the human goal, there is only karma, not karma yoga. And the ends are going to be manifold. In other words, if you do not choose the limitless as the end, the desires will be limitless. Thus, this Gita Shastra should only be given to certain people and not to others. I think it was clear, right? If you want me to repeat or if you want to share, the eligibility is clearly mentioned by Bhagavan to whom it should be told. So when there is only moksha as the ultimate aim, when that is kept, then the whole samsara becomes like a play. It exists, but as though it is not. And the eligibility is those who have done certain, yeah, Maltese.
Yeah, religion, is to some extent important, right? Nowadays, people are not, they don't want religion and all they're saying, but religion includes the discipline, That's what Shankara is saying here, religious discipline.
Very true. Religious as a word, like it is not right to stick to just one. All religions talk about the same divinity. And we should have that strong faith in our own religion. And that gives the discipline. Yeah. So I think the eligibility is given here. I read ahead. To whom should it not be given? To one who has no religious discipline. To whom should it not be given? To the person who has no religious discipline. Atapakshaya. I hope I read correct. Pakshaya. Atapakshaya. Na. Atapaskaya. Atapaskaya. जिन्होंने तपस नहीं किया है या अतपस्काय. I read once again. To the person who has no religious discipline, atapaskaya, which would include those who have no intellectual discipline. Amedhavis. So I read once again. To the person who has no religious discipline, atapaskaya, which would include those who have no intellectual discipline, amedhavis. These are generally said together. Tapas is also considered to be knowledge or the pursuit of knowledge. Bhrigu is told by his father in the Taittiriya Upanishad, by tapas may you understand Brahman. Tapasa Brahma Vijignasa Sasva. Vijignasasva. There, tapas is purely inquiry. But here we can say that the one who has tapas has a commitment and is ready to put forth effort to equip himself for this knowledge. To the one who does not have this atapaskaya, it is not to be given. to one who has no devotion. Further, this teaching should not be given to the one who has no devotion, a bhaktaya. This devotion should be for both the Guru and the Lord. That means Shraddha and a certain awareness of Ishvara is necessary for moksha. This devotee appreciates the necessity of invoking Ishvara's grace for moksha. Here, the devotee is necessarily the Jignashu Bhakta. As he has devotion to Parmeshwara, he also has commitment to the teacher and the teaching. From this, we understand that even if he has a great commitment, tapas for this knowledge, but has no devotion, this knowledge is not to be given to him. When should the teaching not be given to such people? Bhagavan says, Na kadachana. Never, for emphasis. Shankara says that it should not be given under any condition, that is, not even under duress. If someone knows the Shastra and does not follow the Sampradaya, and if he teaches, the student may not get the benefit of the Shastra. Therefore, saying this, that is, in laying down the rules on who should be taught, he is giving the tradition, sampradaya. To one who has no interest to listen. Then again, it should not be told to the one who has no desire to listen. Ashushrusave. 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 I hope I read it correct. Asushrusave or asushrusave. So a tapas, a bhakta, and now a shushrushavi, the one who has no interest in listening. Even if such a person goes to the class, his mind will be elsewhere or he will sleep. The one who has a desire to listen, shrotu ichuhu, is a shushrushu, is a sushrushu. He has a great love for listening to the Shastra and is committed to it. He alone should be taught, not the one who is indifferent. And there is a rule for the teacher that he should not teach unless this knowledge is specifically asked for. Na aprishtaha kasyachit bruyat. That means unless a person asks for this knowledge should not be given. Even though Brigu was Varuna's son, he had to ask for this knowledge, and Varuna did not give it to him until he asked. Therefore, one must be a Shushrushu. That is, one should have a love to sit in the class and listen. Okay, this is a kind of so unless it is asked, we should not talk about this knowledge. Is it the knowledge about the Atman or knowledge about Bhagavad Gita? Can someone help to clarify? Because I keep on telling people to read Bhagavad Gita. So is it the knowledge about the Atman here it is talked about, or the knowledge about Bhagavad Gita?
No, both are same, right? Whether talking about knowledge, Atman, Bhagavad Gita talks only about Atman. No difference between Bhagavad Gita and
So should we tell only to those who asked? We should not tell to those who are not aware of the Bhagavad Gita.
That is okay, but you can't preach them, asking, giving them all the knowledge. Like
Yeah, okay. You should not start preaching them. Yeah.
Yes. You can just tell them, read Bhagavad Gita, that's okay. It's their wish.
See, if they are interested, they will follow it.
Hmm.
When you tell them what is importance of Bhagavad Gita, need not teach, but at least tell them. They may not be knowing, but they may, it may kindle something in them. Telling to read Bhagavad Gita is a different thing, and teaching is different thing.
Yeah, Shushrushu means start talking and teaching. Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. The next is to one who finds fault with Krishna. To whom else should this not be given? It should not be given to one who finds fault with the Gita or Krishna. One may look upon Krishna as arrogant, for instance, because he says, Mattaha parataram nanyat kinchit asti, na anyat kinchit asti. There is no one other than or superior to me. Mam ekam sharanam vraja. Mam ekam sharanam vraja. You should come to me alone. Mai avyabhicharini bhaktihi. A devotion to me that is unswerving. Manmana bhava. Be one whose mind is in me. Mad bhakto bhava. Be my devotee. Madhyaji bhava. Do all rituals for me. Mam namaskuru. Salute to me. I read once again. This is so beautiful paragraph. Whom we should not tell? To the one who finds fault with Krishna. To whom else should this not be given? It should not be given to one who finds fault with the Gita or Krishna. One may look upon Krishna as arrogant, for instance, because he says, Mattaha parataram nanyata kinchit asti. There is no one other than or superior to me. Mamekam sharanam vraja. You should come to me alone. Mai avyabhicharini bhaktihi. A devotion to me that is unswerving. Manmana bhava. Be one whose mind is in me. Mad bhakto bhava. Be my devotee. Madhyaji bhava. Do all rituals for me. Mam namaskuru. Salute me. There are many more expressions like this in the Gita. If a person uses the first person too much, person can think that he is arrogant. But here Krishna talks as Ishvara. And if he is viewed as Ishvara, the teaching becomes effective. While anyone who knows and teaches the Shastra is a Shastravit. Krishna is a Shastrakrit. Such a beautiful difference. I repeat this line. While anyone who knows and teaches the Shastra is a Shastravit, Krishna is a Shastrakrit, being the one who is the author and the revealer of the Shastra. If one looks upon the Gita Shastra as coming straight from the Lord, then the Shraddha is different and it blesses the person. If, on the other hand, one finds fault with Krishna, when there is no fault, that is asuya. Asuya, guneshu dosha darshanam. Guneshu dosha darshanam. That is asuya.
that is finding fault. Finding fault with others.
Yes, when there is no fault.
None, yes. Whatever it is there or not there, we should not find faults. That is asuya. We can indirectly tell them, but behind them, we should not be telling it. Directly or indirectly. That is the first thing needed for the Bhagavad Gita. Otherwise,
Yeah,
clarity of mind will not be there at all. Finding fault is the first thing not to be followed. Anyway, that is what is this one, gossiping. Gossiping, finding fault is, there is a story, those who, in Kannada it is there, ಮಾಡಿದವರ ಪಾಪ ಆಡದವರ ಬಾಯನ್ನೊಳಗೆ. Means, those who have not done the papa, but that papa will go to those who have been talking about it behind them. He has not done the papa, but this fellow is backbiting. No, he has done this, that. So that papa of him will go to those who tell them. There is a story I can tell you later on. Might be knowing it also.
They would also say, you are washing others. You're washing others' sin through your through your tongue.
very true. Correct. When you praise others, Gurudev also says, when you praise others, then you add to your account the balance. But when you criticize others, you are losing your balance.
That is the first thing to be followed in the life. You have to tell all the children and everything. Not to complain about the others. While just even telling, oh, he has done that way, this way, that way, should not be.
Yeah.
Because we are not in their shoes. And karma, we don't know how it affects. Knowing all this knowledge, we should not be. Asuya. Asuya is this one. Anusuya should be followed.
Arjuna is Anasuya.
That is what he said. No, Anusuya way. Because he is Anusuya, I am teaching you. The first this one is the requirement of the Bhagavad Gita is Anusuya way. Otherwise, you will not get that secret. He addresses Arjuna that way. Krishna.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When Bhagwan is the one who has all the virtues in absolute measure, Sarva Gunavan. I repeat, when Bhagwan is the one who has all the virtues in absolute measure, Sarva Gunavan, to find fault there is seeing a defect where there are only virtues. Shankara says that the person who does find fault does not know that Krishna is Ishvara. Such a person who has Asuya is not to be taught. Why? Because with such an attitude, the teaching will not be fruitful. Who can receive it in describing the one to whom
and
this
one
teaching?
more thing, we are not to say that Krishna said this. It is in the Bhagavad Gita only. Bhagwan said it, Bhagwan Uvacha, not Krishna Uvacha. It is the Ishvara's. This one, it is coming out. It might be Krishna Arjuna Samvada, but the Bhagavad Gita always says Bhagwan Uvacha, not Krishna Uvacha, not a single time.
Correct.
That is Ishvara.
This is a new revelation, no? As a Krishna, not that in the human being form, but through Krishna it is Bhagwan. So beautiful.
Who has all the virtues only.
Yeah, that is, Bhagwan is six virtues, they say. That is, I don't know the shloka that. Bhagwan has that everything. We tell Bhagwan to that. It is Ishvara only. So we are not talking. Though when we say that Krishna Arjuna Samvade, actually it is Bhagwan and this one, Samvad. So we should not call him as a person that Krishna is telling like this. No. Unless people, the person who has respect for Krishna as a God. That is what they have mentioned here.
Yeah, very beautiful.
Jai Guru.
Who can receive it? In describing the one to whom this teaching is not to be given, the one to whom it is to be given becomes evident. The one who has religious discipline, devotion, a keen desire to listen, and does not find fault with the teacher is to be taught. So it is a summary that you should have religious discipline, devotion, keen desire to listen, and should not find fault with the teacher. Only to them it should be taught. The result of this teaching. Anyone wants to share or shall I read? It is about the eligibility criteria Bhagavan has specified. The result of this teaching. Now, when one teaches following the tradition sampradaya, what is the result for that teacher? Ya imam paramam guhyam madbhakteshvabhidhasyati bhaktim mayi param krutva mame vaishyatya samshayah. Yah, the one who, imam, this shastra, paramam, most exalted, guhyam, secret, mad bhakteshu, to my devotees, abhidhasyati, teaches, mai, to me, param bhaktim, the highest devotion, krutva, and having offered, mam eva, to me alone, eshyati, will come. Asamshayah, there is no doubt. Yah imam paramam guhyam mad bhakteshu abhidhasyati mayi param bhaktim krutva mameva eshyati asamshayah. The one who teaches this most exalted secret shastra to my devotees, having offered the highest devotion to me, will come to me alone. There is no doubt. I repeat, the one who teaches this most exalted secret shastra to my devotees, having offered the highest devotion to me, will come to me alone. There is no doubt. So Bhagavan has given here the confirmation for the one who has received this and he wants to spread this knowledge.
Just wanted to share this here since it's appropriate. What Nana was telling me a few days back was this is what his teacher, Swami Sukhabodhananda, who is right now Sukhabodhananda Saraswati, was my father's Gita teacher. They used to go to, have regular Gita lessons under him, both he and my mother. So at the end of the 18th chapter, after he finished, this is what Swami Sukhabodhananda, he was called Nityaji then. This is what he told all his students. He says, the best Guru Dakshina that you can give is spread this knowledge. teach someone else who is keen to learn. Of course, the eligibility criteria have to be there. So that will be the best Guru Dakshina. And we see how beautiful the result of teaching this to someone else is.
So true. Very beautiful. It is truly Rajavidya, Rajaguhya. Really, very beautiful. The benefit for the teacher. When he says, Yaha abhidhasyati, the one who teaches, we understand that this applies not only to Arjuna, but to whomsoever one teaches this Shastra. This Shastra is considered the most exalted, Parama, because understanding its subject matter will give moksha. And this teaching, which is in the form of a dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna, is most sacred and secret, Guhya. Why is it to be kept a secret? It may damage a person who does not need it and is not ready for it. A simple devotee, if he is told that he is Bhagavan, he may give up his devotion and may not gain knowledge and be worse off than he was before being exposed to this teaching. Thus, this knowledge must be taught only to the person who is ready for it. Therefore, it is a secret. I read once again, very important. The benefit for the teacher, when he says, Yaha abhidhasyati, the one who teaches, we understand that this applies not only to Arjuna, but to whomsoever one teaches this Shastra. This Shastra is considered the most exalted, Parama, because understanding its subject matter will give moksha. And this teaching, which is in the form of a dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna, is most sacred and secret, Guhya. Why is it to be kept a secret? It may damage a person who does not need it and is not ready for it. A simple devotee, if he is told that he is Bhagwan, he may give up his devotion and may not gain knowledge and be worse off than he was before being exposed to this teaching. Thus, this knowledge must be taught only to the person who is ready for it. Therefore, it is a secret. More than that, it gives the Parama Purushartha, and therefore, being the most valuable, it should be given only to the person who has a proper value for it. Otherwise, it will not work. Further, it is the most secret because it is not available for other means of knowledge, pramana, like perception. And also, it is the nature of oneself, the very seeker who is looking for a solution. His very seeking keeps it hidden because the seeker is the Atma that is sought. Even if it is taught, if the person does not have the proper qualifications, the teaching will not convey anything and thus remains a secret. And if a person is oriented towards employing means and achieving ends, the teaching will remain a secret because here there is no means and no end. There is only knowing the self which is so subtle, ati sukshma, that it is not available for objectification, but is revealed through the implied meaning, lakshyartha, of the words of the Shastra. Thus, it is Guhya. I repeat once again. More than that, it gives the Parama Purushartha, and therefore, being the most valuable, it should be given only to the person who has a proper value for it. Otherwise, it will not work. Further, it is the most secret because it is not available for other means of knowledge, pramana, like perception. And also, it is the nature of oneself, the very seeker who is looking for a solution. His very seeking keeps it hidden because the seeker is the Atma that is sought. Even if it is taught, if the person does not have the proper qualifications, the teaching will not convey anything and thus remains a secret. And if a person is oriented towards employing means and achieving ends, the teaching will remain a secret because here there is no means and no end. There is only knowing the self, which is so subtle, ati sukshma, that it is not available for objectification, but is revealed through the implied meaning, lakshyartha, of the words of the Shastra. Thus, it is Guhya. When the understanding is there that the sadhana and the sadhana sadhans and all those, they are the preparation for the mind. They are not the moksha. They are not the way to moksha. Actually, only knowledge is the ultimate realization. So those who are looking for it as means and ends, it will not be helpful because it is not.
That is why Bhagwan said, Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschit yadapi siddhaye yatatam api siddhanam kaschinmam veti tattvataha. Which is, out of thousands and millions of people, only few would want to know who I am. And even among those, there is only one that will actually realize who I am. So this paragraph is so important in us understanding what actually moksha purushartha is and not getting caught in the means and the ends. Like you very rightly said, the sadhana sadhya is all part of the karma that we do. It should be karma yoga, transformed into karma yoga so that we get enough antakarana shuddhi. And with that vyavasayatmika buddhi, that this moksha is the only thing, that's the only purushartha. That is the top priority. Then, along with that, of course, you pursue knowledge. Because there is no end. As in, you are the end. There is no seeking. It is, even the name seeker is superfluous because who are you seeking? You are the one that is sought. There is no objectification. When you say means and end, it means there is an object. But here there is no object here. You are the only one and you are the subject. You are the one sought. So,
the 10th man.
The 10th man. So initially Tattvamasi is required, but Aham Brahmasmi is the culmination.
So beautiful.
See, this ultimate goal for moksha is most important. First of all, what is moksha is not understood correctly. And thoroughly we need moksha, that ultimate. Without that, I cannot stay. That has to come within you. Otherwise, till then, until that, we will be in karma yoga only.
Very true.
We have to make ourselves committed for that. And for that, it has to go, the Tattvamasi has to imbibe in you. It has to be.
Being a karma yogi itself is difficult.
Yeah.
Being a true karma yogi is not as simple as, of course, it is doing everything with a yajna bhava, taking everything as prasada. But being 100% karma yogi itself is a
very, very, very big achievement.
Difficult. It is difficult, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Very challenging.
first step, and that is our eligibility. That is our eligible. So, working on that, and with the faith that yes, and a karma yogi, it includes more. His only purushartha is moksha. That is a given.
No, everyone knows the purushartha. But you want that longing has to be there. Unless you follow
Burning desire.
Yeah, that has to be there. Because there are so many distractions to pull back for us. But again, coming back, coming to that purushartha is really, you take one step, God will give you 10 steps. That is there. And grace of Guru is very, very, very important. Very, very.
Otherwise, we will be in the train for infinite lifetimes, trying to reach the destination, kind of.
Yeah. No, we are all committed for that. Then only we are meeting it. All this knowledge we are taking, at least we have that longing for that. In one of the Sayama, this one, Guruji has said, how many of you want to come again rebirth? You know, that he asked, particularly asked us. Think of it. And we are lucky we have a Guru and we have to use him in before our this. So with all this knowledge, he has given it. Therefore, we are until this path. But we have to be fully committed for that.
Jai Gurudev, and here I can never forget Nanaji's, that analogy. This is a drowning person who is, is looking for that one breath. He wants that intensity we should have for this knowledge, for moksha. That is really very powerful analogy.
Correct. Very beautiful. Yeah, very nice. To whom is the teaching given? To my devotees, Mad Bhakteshu, the devotees of Parmeshwara. Generally, devotees are committed to security and pleasure, artha and kama, and take the Lord's help to achieve those ends. But here, the devotees want the knowledge of Parmeshwara. They do not want anything less than that. They go to Parmeshwara not to get something from Parmeshwara, but to get Parmeshwara. So beautiful. I read once again. They go to Parmeshwara not to get something from Parmeshwara, but to get Parmeshwara. They are Jignashus and their only goal is moksha, and they are therefore jignashu bhaktas. Such persons are fit to be given this knowledge by saying that these devotees are the ones to whom this teaching is given. Krishna is emphasizing the importance of bhakti here. Even though one has to have discipline, tapas, and be one who is eager to listen to the Shastra, the Shushrutshu, the importance of Ishvara Bhakti is pointed out here. So beautiful. I repeat once again, to whom is the teaching given? To my devotees, Mad Bhakteshu, the devotees of Parameshwara. Generally, devotees are committed to security and pleasure, artha and kama, and take the Lord's help to achieve those ends. But here, the devotees want the knowledge of Parameshwara. They do not want anything less than that. They go to Parameshwara not to get something from Parameshwara, but to get Parameshwara. They are Jignashus and their only goal is moksha, and they are therefore Jignashu Bhaktas. Such persons are fit to be given this knowledge by saying that these devotees are the ones to whom this teaching is given. Krishna is emphasizing the importance of bhakti here. Even though one has to have discipline, tapas, and be one who is eager to listen to the Shastra, the Shushrushu, the importance of Ishvara Bhakti is pointed out here. One who teaches the Gita is a great bhakta. Then Krishna says here that the one who is teaching this knowledge is doing the highest form of devotion to me, Bhaktim Mai Param. When he is teaching, he is revealing Bhagwan, and that is his service to Bhagwan. To do that, he has to understand Bhagwan, and thus he is a Gnani, whom Bhagwan has equated to himself. Gnani tu Atmaiva. That is Parama Bhakti. Because between the Lord and the devotee, there is no longer any difference. When the subject matter of this knowledge is Bhagavan, and the fact that all that is here is Bhagavan, the teacher who is teaching this knowledge is not separate from Bhagavan. Because of his knowledge, the ego is resolved. And when he teaches, it is as if Sakshat Bhagavan is teaching. Having achieved identity with Parameshwara, he is a Gnani Bhakta, and by teaching, he continues to serve Parameshwara. What happens to him? It reminds me of our dear Nanaji. What happens to him? He teaches me alone. He reaches me alone. Kshamyata. What happens to him? He reaches me alone. Mameva eshyati. In this life, he is liberated. He is Jivan Mukta. If he has any problem with Nishtha in this knowledge, he gains it by teaching. Since the nature of Ishvara and the nature of the Jiva is one, in this life itself, he has recognized that he is not separate from Parameshwara. Secondly, he reaches Parameshwara after death also, because when the Prarabdha karma is exhausted, there is only Parameshwara. There are many types of devotees, some doing puja, some doing other rituals, and so on. But even though here there is no substance, dravya, or fire among all the devotees, there is no one who is more dear to Krishna than the one who is teaching this knowledge. This is ultimate. I read once again. What happens to him? He reaches me alone, Mameva Eshyati. In this life, he is liberated. He is Jivan Mukta. If he has any problem with nishtha in this knowledge, he gains it by teaching. Since the nature of Ishvara and the nature of the Jiva is one, in this life itself, he has recognized that he is not separate from Parmeshwara. Secondly, he reaches Parmeshwara after death also. Because when the prarabdha karma is exhausted, there is only Parmeshwara. There are many types of devotees, some doing puja, some doing other rituals, and so on. But even though here there is no substance, dravya, or fire, among all the devotees, there is no one who is more dear to Krishna than the one who is teaching this knowledge. So beautiful.
Earlier, it's very, you mean, beginning of my career, we can, my idea of moksha means death. You know, that was a feeling we had. I had at least. So after reading so many and attending so many, Jivan Mukta is the possibility.
Jai Gurudev, today we'll have to close at
Soon, okay.
yeah, because I have another meeting to go to at 6:30. So I think we will leave 2 minutes for any sharing and then we can close with Maya Panchakam.
Yeah.
Sometimes this feeling comes that for how many lifetimes still we need to go on and on. But sometimes devotee also goes into kind of, I don't know if it happens with everyone, but Jai Guru.
You are not alone.
ॐ सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ओम् श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ओम् तत्सत् सर्वं श्रीकृष्णार्पणमस्तु
निरुपमनित्यनिरंशकेऽप्यखण्डे मयि चिति सर्वविकल्पनादिशून्ये घटयति जगदीश जीवभेदम् त्वघटितघटना पटीयसी माया त्वघटितघटना पटीयसी माया श्रुतिशतनिगमान्तशोधकानपि अहह धनादिनिदर्शनेन सद्यः कलुषयति चतुष्पदाद्यभिन्ना न घटितघटना पडीयसी माया सुखचिदखण्डविबोधमद्वितीयम् वियदनलादिविनिर्मित्ते नियोज्य भ्रमयति भवसागरे नितान्तम् त्वघटितघटना पटीयसी माया अपगतगुणवर्णजातिभेदे सुखचितिविप्रविडाद्यहं कृतिं च स्फुटयति सुतदारकेहमोहम् त्वघटितघटना पटीयसी माया विधिहरिहरविभेदमप्यखण्डे बत विरचय्य बुधानपि प्रकामम् भ्रमयति हरिहरविभेदभावान् घटितघटना पटीयसी माया त्वघटितघटना पटीयसी माया